Welcome to the video, guys. I'm going to go over how I currently eat. Really, the goals of how and why I'm eating the way that I eat is to get lean and stay lean. Something simple and something also healthy. I'm just going to break everything down and just give you guys an honest take on how I eat. No fluff, no frills, true honesty. So why should you even watch this? Honestly, guys, it's going to help give you ideas for your diets. It's going to help give you motivation as you diet if you're dieting. And you can kind of twist this in the sense of just increasing your calories if you're bulking, and that can be motivation for bulking too. And you get real examples of what I eat on a day-to-day. And I break this down on like what I eat for a typical day, what I eat when I slightly go over my calories, and then also how I eat when I am having like a non-track day / cheat meal day. And so that kind of gives you guys just like a rundown of what I do in terms of how I'm thinking when I'm not tracking calories. So what we're going to cover is what I want to look like, picking calories, the style of eating, a typical day, like I said, day to day, some variations in terms of what I typically would like opt out, like my typical day to day things for. So these are kind of like substitutions. There's also variations in terms of me eating slightly over my calories, and I'll give you guys a specific example on one of those days. And we'll just kind of summarize some key points. So let's keep whipping through this video, guys. So what do I actually want to look like? Part 1 of 2. So the whole thing that I'm trying to push across is the fact that everyone has a range of body fat that's ideal for them. And for me, I want to be on the lower end of that body fat range. Now, in terms of this range being healthy and ideal, I mean that it's the best for you in terms of your energy, your mood, your testosterone levels if you're a male, your strength, and being sustainable, not being super stressed and not being super overwhelmed with always thinking about food and thinking that I have to feel so restricted every time I think that I have to eat something. So my goal, like I was saying before, guys, is to be on the lower end of that healthy body fat range and to maintain that physique, not just diet down to it. So like this really shows you guys like how much better you look when you're leaner. Like, no offense, but like look how much like better my face looks. It's way more like sunken in, but I'm not to the point where I'm super shredded, so I look like a skeleton. But like my face is nice and angular. I look way more attractive facial wise, and of course like my physique, unless you like a bit of a fluffier physique, I mean my physique looks like 100% better. So I kind of covered that with those points there. And like the thing is, like, you want to be in an upper echelon of like kind of like looking at yourself thinking like, man, like I work really, really hard, and I kind of in a sense am doing something that I feel like other people couldn't necessarily do. But at the same time, you want to not be like overly stressed out every single day about what you're eating, and you don't want to be too strict, and you want to be having fun. Okay, so basically what you want to do is like in general, and this is what I did when I first started out, now I've been dieting slowly for a long period of time, is you want to use a calorie calculator and then just kind of get an idea of where roughly you should start. And then once you start, you can kind of see what your body's doing. Look at the weight scale, look at your weight average for the end of the week and see where the trend is going, because depending on when you eat your last meal, how much water you drink, what time you wake up and weigh yourself, your weight's going to fluctuate. And you want to find out where that trend is headed. So if it's not headed in the right direction, then you've either got to add more cardio or drop your calories down a little bit. Go really slow, guys. You don't want to have a large calorie deficit, because that's going to really mess with you mentally, and it's going to make you want to feel like binging as soon as you're done your diet and even during your diet. So you really want to take this diet really slow, because the whole idea is to spend eventually, when you get lean enough, a long amount of time at that body weight. So it's almost like you're living and you're conditioning your mind and your body to live at that lower body fat range. And so what you're doing is you're basically reinforcing the identity that you are like that person that is living life at that lower body weight. And you can look back and be like that literally makes sense, because I am doing that. So with that said, currently what I'm eating is about 1,800 to 2,000 calories, and I have about 1 day a week where I eat 2,500 calories. And then the week that And then I have it like a week where I do a cheat meal. So the week that I do the cheat meal, I'm not doing the 2,500 calorie day. That's for the every other week. So I flip those two on every other week, if that makes sense. Usually I don't track calories on the day that I'm having my cheat meal, and that's just to give myself more of a mental break, and it gives me a good time to practice being more like kind of like, what do I want to say, like more like disciplined, and allow myself to like reinforce habits when like I'm not tracking, because not every time that you are eating you're going to be able to weigh your food. Like, what if you start traveling and you start getting busy and you start eating meals that you can't track the calories per se? You have to get good at kind of controlling yourself from like overeating and binging. Obviously, if you tend, and especially me, I tend to eat a little bit more, I'm going to probably end up eating a little more than my calories. But if you can have a bit of like the ropes pulled in a little bit and not like go crazy over when you go over, that's a skill in and of itself, because if you don't have a weight scale, you still have to be able to like rein yourself in. So basically I kind of know from the past that the calories that I'm eating and the activity level as far as like what I do on a day-to-day basis, not inside the gym, plus my cardio, will get me to the leanness that I want. If I want to get leaner, I can add in more cardio, or just be more on point with my diet and more on point with my cardio. You're gonna go over, guys, but you just don't want to binge, and you don't want to binge on the cheat meal and on the non-tracking day and just eat whatever you want, because there still has to be some sense of control. Keep in mind that your daily activity does play a part too. It's not just what you do in the gym, and you just really have to adjust as you go. Like, if you're not losing weight, then you got to change something. If you're not losing weight, you're probably gaining weight. Or if you're just plateauing, then obviously you're gonna have to force yourself to be a little bit more uncomfortable and do a little more cardio, or just like decrease the amount of calories that you're having on the non-tracking day. Like, figure out something. All right, so like, what kind of style do I eat? So I'm a very balanced person in the sense that like I believe that you shouldn't cut out food groups. Now, the only issue with like going like carnivore and stuff like that, not that couldn't work per se, because if you're going from like a processed food diet and eating like a ton of carbs, like minus the fact that you're going to lose water weight at the beginning, you have to keep in mind that having very unprocessed foods and then switching over to a diet that's more high in protein, high in fats, and you can't, let's say, like kind of have like empty calories in some of the carbs that you eat, but some of the carbs that you eat, like if you eat a ton of potatoes, like you can feel pretty full. But switching over to something like carnivore or keto might end up making you feel like more full, therefore you like can sit in the deficit a little bit easier for your diet, and you might end up losing a ton of the weight. But you got to keep in mind that once you finish losing that weight, you got to do what you did to get lean in order to stay lean. So that's why I believe in having a more balanced approach, because I want to like maintain this leanness, and I also like want to keep doing the diet. And obviously, like, the diet doesn't necessarily mean that I'm dieting to lose weight. The diet is just the foods that I eat. So I want to do something in terms of the calories. Obviously will change until I plateau, but the actual diet itself, the types of foods that I eat, will pretty much stay the same. I tend to eat higher protein. That's just to really just keep me full. I kind of eat all throughout the day, and then I try to save like a bigger sized dinner, somewhere like around 500 to 600, 700 calories, because most likely if you want to go over your calories, it's going to be at night. That's when your temptation is the greatest. That's when you might be like, oh, screw it, I'm feeling too hungry, I won't be able to sleep. And you'll probably want to go over your calories. So save enough for dinner so that you can have like a decent sized meal and feel full before you go to bed. Something recent that I changed out due to researching, I was going to make a video on like egg yolks and red meat, which honestly most of the literature unfortunately supports the fact that eating too many egg yolks is actually bad for your cholesterol. Now, it's like really hard. Science can't account for everything, and obviously there's so many variables that they need to control and are unable to control. So if you're eating like a healthy diet, unprocessed foods, and you're eating a couple of eggs every day, you're probably fine. But for me, I've kind of cut down on my egg yolk usage, and it's mixed reviews as far as like red meat goes. The only issue with the studies on red meat is they include processed red meat and unprocessed red meat, and you can't do that because obviously processed is way worse for you. And I'm eating unprocessed red meat. So with eating unprocessed red meat, they notice that basically you get this decrease, a large decrease in your bad cholesterol, but a slight decrease in your good cholesterol. So to kind of counterbalance that drop in the good cholesterol, which it might or might not actually have any effect because the molecules that are being decreased are potentially not like functional, is what the study said. I've been just adding healthy fats in my day once or twice, usually with my red meat consumption, and sometimes, like I said, an extra meal with some healthy fats, and that could be like olive oil, almond butter, avocado, stuff like that. I tend to eat fruits and vegetables like 1 serving a day, sometimes more, and good carbs, mostly potatoes. So it's a pretty like unprocessed diet. And then you guys will see I typically have like a non-tracking day where I might eat stuff that's a little more processed, but still reasonable choices. And then I have my cheat meal where that's when I can have stuff where it's like a little bit fattier sauces, like some garlic aiolis, some mayo, some bacon, like stuff that's a little more enjoyable. So like the whole thing is like, it's so hard to master a diet, and mastering a diet is really, for me, learning how to be like consistent. And the biggest thing is like when you like mess up a little bit, don't throw in the towel. When you throw in the towel, that's what really hurts you. And I used to do this all the time in the past. So if you end up going over by a little bit, don't have an epic binge. And still, on that cheat meal, don't have an epic binge. There's a level of discipline that you need, which you will get better with time when you continue to practice discipline. But you have to have flexibility. You have to use some intelligence you have to use some intelligence and flexibility in order to be consistent, but you still have to be disciplined. Like there's no way around it. So guys, for a typical day for breakfast, I'm just chugging along. So what I do, I make a protein shake, and I make it with almond milk because it's a lower calorie milk, not because I'm lactose intolerant or anything like that. It's just like only 30 calories per cup. You could also use cashew milk, and this is obviously the unsweetened almond milk. And then I'm using about a scoop of protein powder. It ends up being, sometimes I do 30 to 40 grams, whatever, 35 grams. And then, so what I do is I make the shake with that. I mix it up in the shaker cup. Excuse me there, guys. And that's now the creamer for my coffee. And I typically throw in 1 or 2 sweeteners as well. I throw in the pink Sweet and Lows because that tends to be my favorite sweetener. And I typically have 2 Yeti mugs of coffee. So sometimes 3, sometimes 1. So that's how I typically start my morning. I drink lots of water, and then I have a homemade protein bar. I take it out of the freezer because I find with the natural ingredients and the lack of chemicals to hold it together, it gets a little bit sticky if you leave it in the fridge. So you put it in the freezer, you take it out, it thaws out in like a couple of minutes, then you can munch it, and it all stays together a lot nicer in terms of the texture. And then I'm working, guys, 7 to 3 Monday to Friday for the most part, some weekends as well. So at work in the morning, I'm typically finishing up that second coffee, and then I'll kind of have a snack, which typically is a banana. But now that watermelon's in season, you can eat so much watermelon for such little calories. So I'm typically munching on that quite a bit. And then for my actual lunch, I'm having ground beef, the extra lean ground beef. I live in Canada, so we don't have like the 95.5, 97.3 stuff. It's just extra lean or medium, basically. And then I'm eating a bunch of potatoes, some sort of vegetable. It's typically broccoli, but sometimes my mom makes this like collard green basically mixture for you guys who know what that is. Like it's basically like, sometimes it depends what she adds in. It's either spinach or like bok choy, Swiss chard, something like that, some sort of combination like that. So I just put spinach there just for ease of explanation. And then, like I was saying before, I typically add some olive oil, and this is typically like a tablespoon and a half kind of thing, anywhere from like 10 to 15 grams of olive oil. And I covered basically what I was mentioning before in this study here. And this is really just to balance out your cholesterol levels, because there's honestly, I'm starting to believe that red meat is like, I kind of believe this for a while, and I never didn't believe it. But you always kind of hear people saying like red meat's bad for you, but I'm pretty convinced that it's actually very good for you. It's a pretty nutrient dense food. It's even the higher fat cuts of steak are still good for you guys. And they've shown in studies that the higher fat cut with keeping the calories the same could actually potentially have better benefits on your body than the leaner stuff. And obviously there's so many variables to control, so that's not for sure a fact. But you got to balance out the cholesterol levels by adding in the healthy fats. And that's because you can't just have the drop in HDL. You need to balance it out with the healthy fats, because the red meat is mostly just saturated fats. So guys, meal prep is success. This is what like basically every Sunday looks like for me. 2 trays of potatoes, some sort of vegetable, and a bunch of ground beef. And then for dinner, guys, I'm typically having basically what I had for lunch, or if we get some fish, whether it's salmon or some white fish, I'll have that. Obviously, if I have salmon, I won't have olive oil again because the salmon is a bit higher in fat and it's higher in calories, so I don't need to add the healthy fats because I'm getting it from the salmon. If I have white fish, then I might add the olive oil. Just really depends. So this is a typical day. I little screenshotted what I consumed for Friday, June 14th. So hit around 1,800 to 2,000 calories. There you go. And you see everything that I'm eating here, guys. And like it's basically exactly what I kind of went over. And I weigh about 160 pounds. So I typically shoot for around a gram per pound of body weight of protein. Sometimes I go a little bit over. It's not really fully intentional that I go over, but I do aim for about a gram per pound of body weight. That's high protein enough for me. But just the way that I eat and just to keep me full, I tend to go a little bit over in the protein, and that's more just for satiety reasons to keep me full. So this is an example of a day that I went slightly over my calories. Guys, my expectation is to hit around 2,000 max, but here I hit about 2,100. But the key here was to not binge. Now, I really felt like binging that day, and this is typically what happens when you diet for a long period of time, guys, is that when you go over, sorry, I'm fixing the mic here. When you go over, you tend to want to go, like when you go over, you tend to want to like not stop eating. And that's really something that you need to master. It is a skill to go over and not to binge. So I was able to stop myself and feel what it feels like to go a little bit over and fight those urges to binge and not binge. And it is a skill, guys, and you have to try it, and you have to literally just go a little bit over and then just fully stop eating and experience what it feels like to want to eat more because you went over, but you don't. And then once you get used to that feeling, you can repeat it consistently. So you really just got to force yourself to do it once, see how it feels, and then you get better at doing it. All right, so now this is a cheat meal non-tracking day. Guys, typically I wouldn't eat quite this much today, or this was today when I'm filming this is what I ate today. I probably ate a little bit more than I should have, but again, no fluff. I'm showing you guys what honestly happened, but it wasn't the greatest because I kind of messed up when I would hit the gym. I wanted to hit the gym sooner, but I felt too full, so I had to wait a little while to hit the gym, so I kind of messed up on that front. I just ate a little bit too much in the morning. Like I should have ate a little bit less eggs and a little bit, like I had cheese on there and some turkey pepperoni. I should have ate just a little bit less calories, and I had a bunch of snacks in the morning. I should have not eaten that much, and lesson learned, honestly, so I can get on with my day, not feel so stuffed, because I was at the point where I'm like, shoot, I kind of ate too much food. And then that's not comfortable, and then it messes with your schedule for the entire day. So honestly, it's fine. I didn't go crazy, but it is a lesson learned that I shouldn't eat that much in the morning. And yeah, like I said, typically I don't eat this much for a non-tracking day, but somewhere around there. Yeah, so this was the day, and had a delicious steak for dinner and some cheesy potatoes, and you guys see all the snacks that I had. Those are my homemade protein bars, by the way, wrapped in parchment paper. But yeah, this is typically what I would eat in a sense, and it gives my brain a nice break from not tracking. And if you guys notice, like other than the red velvet cake and I guess the ice cream, like it's kind of like whole foods. It's like just I'm eating just more calories too, and obviously I have some stuff that's not typical and not quote unquote healthy for kind of a little bit of a treat and a break, but it's still just eating more calories and more of good food. If this was my 2,500 calorie day, I would probably just eat something that's just like healthy and whole foods and just treat it as like a refeed. Just eat some more potatoes with ground beef, maybe some like rice cakes, maybe an extra protein bar. I don't know, something like that. Maybe I'll have some like protein oatmeal, something like that, with a little bit of chocolate chips potentially, just for a little bit of sugar. So the variations here are like in the healthy fats, just changing up the sources, because sometimes we buy avocados, then they get ripe, then it's time to eat them. Sometimes I feel like having a spoon of almond butter in the morning. Sometimes I have those rice cake crispy minis, the chip version, the small round ones. Yeah. And sometimes, guys, if I want to have like a bigger meal and I'm tracking for the day, or even if it's a non-tracking day, sometimes I'll do like maybe not intermittent fasting, but I'll kind of push most of my calories for dinner. And that way I'm still keeping the calories reasonable, but allowing myself, if I know that I'm going to have like a bit of a bigger meal, like let's say I want to have like some pizza with like a bunch of sauce, or I'm going out for dinner and I know I'm going to have like a big meal with dessert, then I want to kind of eat a little bit lighter throughout the day and then save more calories for that bigger meal while still keeping the entire day like reasonable in terms of like total caloric intake. And that's like common sense, like but it's nice to kind of hear that explained, but I will do stuff like that. And guys, my new saying in life, honestly, is that it gets worse before it gets better. So when you're getting used to a diet and when you're getting used to being someone that's lean and staying lean, it's going to be just like anything that you do that's new. You have to first make it a habit, and to change your behavioral patterns, you have to start making something like second nature. And when it becomes second nature, it becomes subconscious. So you don't have to put as much effort into actually doing the thing, because when it becomes subconscious, it's like you do it automatically. But before it becomes automatic, it's really hard to do, not just because it's a new thing and it's not automatic, but typically what you're trying to do is typically do the opposite of what you're doing. So if you're trying to lose weight, you typically are switching from eating bad to eating good. So you're also fighting against the old automatic habit of eating bad and eating too many calories. And this really applies to like anything in life. Usually when you want to make a change, you're fighting against the fact that it's a new thing, one, and then two, you're fighting against the bad habit of doing what's opposite to what you want to be doing. So you're forming a new habit, and you're also getting rid of a bad one, and that's really difficult to do. And with dieting, honestly, guys, like you're gonna start to look flat when your body fat's not super low, until you get to a low enough body fat where when you keep losing weight, you start to look better and better. But you're gonna go through that phase, like I said, until you get lean enough where you just feel like it's not working. But honestly, the small wins are adding up over time, and eventually it's going to compound and you're going to see all your results. And really with dieting, like, and with a lot of things in life, you don't need anything super fancy. You just need to learn how to master the basics with consistency, and you will win in the end. So in general, guys, I'm trying to have like enough protein, hitting my calories properly, having at least one healthy fat source for the day, trying to have one fruit and vegetable, avoiding processed foods and sugar for 5 to 6 days out of the week. And typically when I have my cheat meal or my 2,500 calorie day, that's when I'm having sugar. I tend to space out my meals, but save a little more for dinner, so you can avoid going over your calories at night when you feel hungry, and you say you don't want to feel hungry before you go to bed. So it's good to save some calories for that temptation. And just using common sense on the non-tracking days, and getting the skill under my belt of when you go over, do not binge. If you go over, accept it, it happened, and don't dig yourself in a deeper hole. So basically, guys, succeeding in this diet is me getting to the lower end of my body fat range and staying in there, being able to thrive basically and be optimal at that body fat in terms of being able to like build muscle, continue to get stronger once I built back my strength that I lost when I was dieting, because now I have enough calories to actually push weights, and I'm not feeling the effects of a deficit. Having obviously good energy and a good mood, so you're not a pain in the butt to the people around you. I want to eat healthy. I want to be balanced. I want to be like not just look healthy, but actually be healthy in terms of like my body, my organs, my blood work, and everything. I want to be able to have fun and eat different meals, have some sugar once in a while, have some cheat meals. I'm not a robot. I need to have a treat filled in there, you know what I mean? And I typically want to have a meal plan, and typically I eat on a meal plan because it's just easier. You don't really have to think about the foods that you have to eat every single day, but it is nice to have substitutions in there when you want to eat something different, and having the knowledge to know what you can substitute and not just have everything fall apart when you don't follow your plan. But having a meal plan is literally so easy. It's kind of like how Steve Jobs wore the same thing over and over every single day. It's like the less that you have to think about in one area, you can put all that focus into another area. Obviously you don't have to make things super boring, but it's good to have like a general structure, at least for me. And yeah, just don't throw in the towel when you slightly go over, guys. The binge is really what hurts you, and you really need to learn to master this skill because it is a skill. Anyways, that brings me to the end of the video. Guys, that's what I'm currently eating like right now, and that's pretty much like what my goals are, why I'm eating like that, and good examples of what I eat on a day-to-day basis in terms of like 3 categories of being on point, going slightly over, and then having like a non-tracking with a cheat meal kind of day. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you learned something, and if you did, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this video, and stay tuned for more. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Peace out.